Okay, so now I have all my pieces taped and ready to go. So now I'm just going to attach them. I already attached this piece that is going to go here, but I'm not taping it down just yet, and you'll see why. I'm thinking about adding an additional chain and having it connect to that. So I just thought it would kind of look neat if I had more metal elements going on in this. Not sure. Before I attach this one, I'm going to do something real quick. I totally forgot to redo my holes, so I'm going to do that right now before I forget. There we go. You'll have to do this like 3 times. I know it's kind of crazy, but it just works better that way. It looks cleaner. Okay, and then I'm going to do the hole one more time because now I can see it on the opposite side. There. Perfect. Okay. Now I can attach this one to the front. Making sure all the wording is right side up or it will mess it up. I'm going to turn it this way just a little bit so I can see better. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of all my extra tape here. And I've got one more piece. There it is. Okay. Now I'm going to reintroduce those holes again. I know. Lots of hole making here, but it works. And in fact, you know what? I think I'll do it this way. On this particular one, I don't want to make the hole any wider. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little poker to poke my hole. Sorry, I have some like black paint on the tip of one of these. Okay. Now I can attach this piece. I know it's funny, I had one brad that had longer arms, shall you say. Must have belonged to something else, because I don't know. I'm going to put it on there pretty tight. I'm going to bend it over pretty good. And then remember how I said this, I have another one that's crooked. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little pliers and flatten it up a little bit. And I'm making sure that they go sideways and not this way, because you don't want your paper to, you don't want your brads to show through your paper, because these are pretty close to the edge. But unfortunately, that's the way this particular book is. Or how I say clasp. It's because of the clasp, how close it has to be to the edge. So nothing to do with us or our fault, it's the maker. So I'm going to take my glossy accents again. I'm going to go ahead and put my glossy accents down there. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to close it back up. Okay. Then I can grab my final piece. Well, not my final piece, my second to final piece. Let me trim off the excess here. And I goofed. Sorry, I accidentally trimmed off some of my paper, so I gotta re-ink the edge there. I think I'm gonna re-ink it all. Okay. So now I can attach this piece, and I want to make sure that I attach it the correct way. And I'm going to keep it close to the edge because I want to cover up the brads. Let me go up just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to have to do this again with my hand. Unfortunately, I can't lay it flat. Guys, it's looking so cute. So if I did that right, this should go on here. Just like that. Yay! It worked. Okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we can now attach our envelope on the inside. So you have a couple choices. You could tape the back of this, and then you would have to open it up and do that, which I think I'm going to do a little mixture of both tape and glue. We'll see. Haven't officially decided yet about the glue. Kind of like, don't know. And I'm going to have to use my scissors because I can't use too much pressure because I don't want to crush my envelope. And that's why I'm thinking the glue may come into play here. But we'll see. Actually, this one is lifting a little bit. Let me get some glue real quick and glue that down. Hold on one second. So I'm just applying a little pressure here. Don't want to mess up my stuff. Okay. That's why I think I will use glue on here. You could even use glossy accents if you have it. In the like in the middle of these is probably what I'm going to do. And I'm turning my glue upside down right now to prepare it. I wouldn't hot glue this because it's going to get bumpy, and sometimes it's too thick. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this over, open up the envelope, and burnish my edges the opposite way. I'm going to do my best to do that. I got a little piece hanging over. Clip that off. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and like I said, whenever you're using the glue, I love the fact that you can move it into place. And often I use glue and tape together. One, to save on the amount of tape I use, but two, that I know it's definitely gonna stick. It ain't going nowhere. And if you use glossy accents, absolutely for sure it's not going anywhere. Which is actually what I'm going to do. And centered, and see how with the glossy accents or your glue you can maneuver this. You can use Tamara's glue too. Mine just, I'm almost out of it, and so I like using it more on my chipboard or my paper project. Not that this isn't a paper project, but no one's going to see underneath here. What people can see is here. This is where I would use Tamara's glue on any of your really good paper. The other glue doesn't matter. No one's going to see underneath there. So I'm just getting in there and rubbing it down, getting it in there good. We're almost done. I still need to cover my pocket, and I think I decided to go ahead and go with, I think it was this one. I guess I'll just go ahead and carry this down. So I know that this was almost 2 inches. So I'm going to do it at 1 and, actually was it, let me see, maybe it was at 1 7/8. I mean, yep, it is at 1 7/8. So I'm going to go to 1 3/4 by 5 1/8. And that should do it. I may be off on that 5 1/8, but we're about to find out. I was right. Okay, so sorry, 5 1/8. Did I say 1 5/8? It's 5 1/8. I don't even know what I'm thinking. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and distress my edges really quick. And what I did on most of these was I did brown first, just on the very edge. And then I went on top of it with the tea stain and really rubbed it in there. Let me get my tea stain. Okay. Oops. I'm just going to go ahead and paper that on, and then I'll be back in a second because I'm really thinking about doing an additional chain. And normally I wouldn't videotape this, but you may be interested in doing this yourself, so I will go ahead and videotape that. If you're not interested in that, just go ahead and fast forward this part. But basically you would be done at that point. You can just decorate it however you want to, but I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I'm back. So I kind of messed up, so I got to show you a little bit different way of how I did this. And you'll see my mistake in about 2 seconds. But so what I did was I grabbed another Tim Holtz jump ring, and I attached it to the first loop down because I didn't want 2 jump rings on this little edge because then it wouldn't move as well. And this one I have not distressed yet. The chain actually is the same chain. I just distressed, like I said earlier, with shimmers, paints, and stuff. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do that this time or not. But, okay, so here I actually had to recover this because I made a mistake on where I wanted my hole. So I have one of these little lions. And I think this was from the spare parts from Hobby Lobby. I'm pretty sure, yep, I'm sure it was. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a hole with your hole punch at 1 inch by 1 inch. And let me see if I got, sorry, I got to do this right. So I've already made a hole, but so I'm just going to reinforce that hole. So it's just 1 inch 1 inch by 1 inch, so it's just centered. And I've got to find the bottom piece of this real quick, so hold on. Sorry. Okay, phew, it rolled underneath the table. Okay, so I'm just going to attach this here. Just now, it's going to look something like this, and I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to attach this, and I'm going to bring it all the way over so that I'm covering up this little line here because I already have an edge, so I don't need 2. And I'm going to put some glossy accents in the center here because I want to make sure that where that metal piece is, that it stays down. Okay, so I just have like a little strip of it down the center. I'm going to bring it over to the edge and line it up. So at this point you may want to go ahead and use some clips until the glossy accents dries. Sorry, I'm looking for another clip. And of course, when I need one, I don't have one. Goodness. Interesting. Figure out the placement of my chain. Okay, so I'm thinking that looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and put my jump ring there. And it's easy to do. You just take your pliers and you pull it apart and slide it on. And then how I do it is, you know what, I'm going to use a bronze one. I think I will go ahead and most likely, because this is bronze, everything else is bronze except for that one. Okay, there we go. Now I can determine how long I need my chain. And what's really strange is I thought I had my little safety pin attached to this. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry. Okay, crafty peeps, we are getting to the very end of this tutorial. Yay! I bet y'all are like, yes, finally this is over with. Okay, so basically I'm going to grab a piece of 8.5 by 11 because I've already made several of mine, but it's easier to do a 12 by 12, I will have to say, because then you can get 4 mats out of your 12 by 12. So, but the measurements are the same. So I'm going to actually turn it facing up and down, and this is your 8.5 by 11 heavy duty craft cardstock. I'm going to score it at 5 1/4, 5 1/4, flip it over, and then do it at 5 1/4. So that way I know that my measurements are 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm just going to cut it. If I can get this to stay here. I'm just going to cut it on those score lines. Now in your box you should be able to fit 12 mats, and my theory behind that is like, say, you know, I have kids, or you know, if you and your boyfriend, or you and your husband, or whoever, or your dog, or whatever you want to take photos of, I was thinking you could do one a month, and then you'd have 12 months worth of photos, and then on the back you could just journal about that particular date. Okay, so then you're going to grab your 12 by 12, and I've already cut some of this off. All I did was score this one, okay, at 5 1/8 by, and I flipped it over, 5 1/8, and then I'm going to come down here because I like this design on the bottom here, and I like that design. So I'm going to go to 5 1/8. Okay, kind of like that ledger too, but I really like this design, and I really like, actually, I'm probably going to use, instead of using this one, I'm going to use this design. I really like the dancers. And then you just go ahead and cut. I'm sorry if you hear some noise in the background. It is Saturday. My kids are obviously home. And they're watching cartoons and running around in their jammies. So, okay. Typical Saturday around my house. And then I'm just cutting it on that 5 1/8 inch score line. And you should have 2 mats. When you get done. Well, actually, with your 12 by 12, you obviously would have 4 mats. I don't know why I'm saying 2, but because I've already made my 2. Oops, I did not. Sorry, I goofed. I mean, your measurements are right. Don't worry. I just messed up on my piece, so don't pay attention to my extra cutting here. Okay. So then I actually keep all my little scraps because I never know what I'm going to use them for, usually cards. I'm going to grab my envelope punch board. If you have a round corner, I don't have one anymore. Well, actually, the one I had really stunk. It was by Fiskars, and it just would not punch it right, and it was driving me crazy. So I really love the We Are Memory Keepers punches. I'm not playing. I really do. Although this one broke, and that's because I kept shoving it in a space where it was too big for, and I just kept on pushing on this to make it fit in there, and finally it just broke off. I'm going to do the same thing around my corners on my squares. Grab my other one. Okay, so again, our mat or undecorated mat is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and our decorated paper is 5 1/8 by 5 1/8. So you're still able to fit in a 5 by 5 photo with a small little frame around the edge, or you could do a 4 by 4 and you would have more of the decoration in the background. So that's completely up to you on that. So now all you have to do is ink your edges. I'm using the Tim Holtz tea dye, and also a like a vintage brown pigment, just by your basic by Stamp Abilities. And then we'll mat this. So let me just do this real quick. I am trying to find my brown, and I can't, so I'm doing the absolute no can do, which is using the same sponge for my brown, which is a no-no. But for time constraints, I'm doing it. Okay. Now, I'm going to do my score tape. And what's also perfect with the glue that you got in last month's kit, or whatever crafter glue you have, that's pretty thin based. You don't want to have a real heavy duty one because it will wrinkle your paper, and that would really bite. So okay, I've like used the end of my score tape. All done. Okay. I'm sure y'all will have enough score tape left over for this project. I just made several boo-boos, and so you didn't actually see those portions. So okay, so now I'm going to use Tamara's glue, and I should have had it upside down because I'm like at the very end. Sorry. There we go. And I'm just kind of, in fact, I'm going to take my finger and spread it. You wouldn't have to do that normally, but I'm really low on it, so I'm trying to spread it out. Okay. And then all you're going to do is center it on your mat. Take your bone folder, and of course I have glue on my fingers. Never use your bone folder with glue on your finger, and that's why I use this finger, because I'm not touching that, because it gets all over your bone folder and ruins it. And that is it. It just fits in the lovely pocket. And I just wanted to show you here, I haven't inked my edges yet, but I just have some of my little note cards, and I just placed them in my little pocket over here. This is actually one of the Prima IOD molds that I made this little water fountain and then distressed it with some Shimmer's paints. Here's my flower and my button. Here's my clock, more flowers. This was just from my stash, and then this little flower and metal flower was from my stash too. But that is the project. You still have one tag left. Well, you should have like a graphic 45 tag, which I am going to make a small little tag just to kind of show you all, not on this particular tutorial, but you'll see it on her page, just to show you what else you can make with your kit. So I hope you all have a wonderful and fabulous day, and I hope you liked the tutorial. Have a great one. Bye, y'all. Mwah!